Good evening, my loyal listeners, seers, watchers, friends, family, followers, whatever you'd like to call yourself this week. This is Mommy of Two, Wife of One. It is 9:52 p.m. on August 31st, 2015, and this week's video blog is about, let's see, how can I describe it? It's about trusting your instinct as a parent and not getting freaked out when you get certain diagnoses from doctors. Prime example, I have a 6-year-old son, and when he was younger, I taught him how to read at a very early age. The baby can read, and I stayed home with him for 2 years. So he was able to read and spell for the most part by the time he was 2. And because he learned how to read and spell so early, he developed this fascination and this kind of obsession with letters, with knowing how to spell everything, with wanting to know what every word means, and he still has that obsession today. And because of that, and because he liked to keep to himself a lot, his daycare provider at the time suggested that he could possibly have autism. Now, when you're a first time parent, especially, you don't necessarily research all of the things that quote unquote could be wrong with your child. So when you hear something like autism, it immediately freaks you out. Even if you don't necessarily know what it is, you don't know what all the symptoms are, just hearing that there's a chance your child may be less than perfect kind of puts you on edge. And unfortunately, we live in an age of computers. So the first thing that I did was go online and research autism. And of course, the worst case scenarios of autism is what popped up on my screen. So of course I'm freaking out, wondering what could I have done to prevent this? What is wrong with my child? What am I going to do? Is he going to be targeted when he gets older? Is he going to get bullied when he gets to be older, when he's in school? All these things ran through my head, like just what's going to happen to him now, and I was just so scared and all that stuff. Took him to the doctor, and it turns out he does not have autism. And a couple years later, another person that was instructing him kind of suggested the same thing. And I said, okay, I've been through this before. The doctor said he didn't have autism, but, maybe the doctor overlooked something, or maybe there's something I'm not seeing. So his school at the time offered free, I don't want to say autism testing, but I guess free observation for him. So it was a team of people, which I greatly appreciated. It was not only his teacher, it was the school psychologist, it was the special education teacher there, it was the vice principal. It was a team of about 8 women who didn't necessarily gang up on my son, but what they did was they observed him, in his classroom, how he interacted with other students, how he problem solved when he was in class or in any of the special classes, or when he was at lunch or at recess. And it was very casual. It didn't take away from his education. He didn't get singled out at any point, which I appreciate as well. And so the synopsis was that, and what kind of put me at ease, but they said that he is not high on the autism spectrum. What they did was, though, they showed me a list of all of the, I guess, characteristics of autism, and they explained that everyone in the world fits some of these characteristics. But the only time I should be concerned is if my son fits all of these characteristics. And he fit some of them, but I found that I fit some of them as well, and so did everyone in that room. And it kind of put me at ease. It's like, okay, so it means my son just needs help in some areas. In some areas, he excels, and that's really the way all children are. When I had my second child, there was concern from her doctor about her not rolling over and crawling at the rate that they wanted. And for all of you who are parents, know when you go to your child's checkup when they are 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, whatever, they tell you, oh, by this age they should be doing X, Y, and Z. One thing I never liked is that if I go to the 6-month checkup for my child, it would be helpful if someone told me what she should be doing in the next 2 months. So that way I can work on helping her do those things for the next 2 months, as opposed to getting there 2 months later and they're saying, oh, well, and this time she should have been able to do blah, 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 blah. How am I supposed to know that if I don't know what the milestones are? And even though I already had this first child, that was a while ago, they're 5 years apart, I don't remember everything she was supposed to do. And when you have that second child, your first inclination is kind of compare them to the other child and say, oh, well, my son did this at this age, how come she's not doing this at this age? But the difference, again, with having a second child is that my first inclination was not to freak out. It was not to start blaming myself. It was not to start thinking, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Is she going to get bullied? Blah, 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 blah. I didn't think about that right away. Instead, I took a deep breath. I listened to what the doctor said. The doctor said, we have this program that's completely free They come to your house, they work with your child, they offer physical therapy, they do all this great stuff. And I thought to myself, and I spoke with my husband about it, and we decided, you know what, this is a free program, so we're not going to dismiss it. It's not costing us anything. I'm home right now with her, so I can sit here and watch them work with her and learn the exercises, and I can do it with them, with her when she's gone, when they're gone. And it worked out the way it's supposed to. He and I decided to enroll in this program called Infants and Toddlers, which I really love. They come to my house now once a week, and they do exercises with my daughter at the time to help her roll over, to strengthen her stomach muscles so she could sit up by herself, so she could start crawling and all that stuff. And now she's crawling all over the house. She's pulling up to a standing position all the time, and it may not be as quickly as the doctors wanted it to, but it happened eventually. And one thing the doctor kept telling me was that we want to give the Infants and Toddlers program a chance to work with your child. However, if she is not walking by the time she's 18 months old, then we're going to have to take her to see a neurologist. Now that scares me, because that puts in my head that something is wrong with my child, that she is not crazy, but that there's something mentally going on with her, and that's why she's not walking. And, no parent wants to hear that, and I know doctors have a job to do, and I fully respect that, but her not crawling by a certain stage, especially when she's doing all this other stuff now, give her a chance. She's a baby. All babies develop at different ages and stages. And that's one thing I want every parent out there to know, especially every new parent. Do not get distressed when you see a child close to your child's age doing things that your child is not doing. Your child is not them. Your child is going to do things at a different rate. Your child may eventually surpass that other child academically, emotionally, physically, whatever it is. We never know. And we can't really push our children beyond their capacity when they're that young. And so my main message to you all is, listen to the doctor. Do not over-research things. If your doctor says your child could potentially have some disease or some dysfunction that you've never heard of, by all means, do a little research. Definitely ask your doctor questions. If you over-research, you're going to make yourself go crazy, because you're going to immediately, anything that you see, all the symptoms that you see for this disease you never heard of, you're going to immediately put it on your child. Oh my gosh, you're right, she is doing this. Oh my gosh, he isn't doing this. And that's going to drive you crazy. That's going to drive your household crazy. And the last thing you want is for your child to think that something is wrong with them. Even when they're that young and they may not understand everything, children pick up on a lot of stuff. And the last thing I want any of you to do, and the last thing I wanted to do, was to make my child feel like she was less than or not as great as her brother or whoever, because she wasn't doing things at a certain rate that the doctors wanted her to. As a mother, it's my job to offer her whatever resources I can. Again, this program was freely offered to me. It's not costing me anything because I'm already home with her. It's not taking me out of my way at all. So for us, it was a convenient thing, and it's done wonders. The people are very nice. They're very patient with her. And I appreciate what they've done for my child, because a lot of the exercises that they do with her, I would have never thought to do them. I didn't know that they existed. I didn't know anything about strengthening the stomach muscles and how when she starts crawling and walking, it makes her make more sounds because the stomach muscles are relaxed or whatever. I didn't know that stuff. So it is good to utilize the resources that you have, whether it's an official program on infants and toddlers or someone in your network and your family who works with infants or who works with young children. Pick their brain, ask them questions, ask them what exercises you can do, ask them what resources are available to you. That's your job as a parent, to make sure your child has everything that they need. If you cannot physically provide it for whatever reason, then it is your job to do the research to find what you can to help your child. Because at the end of the day, we want our children to be happy. We want them to be healthy. We don't want them to lack for anything. So if you get a diagnosis for your child, whatever it may be, do not immediately panic. Do some research. Educate yourself so you know what's going on. And instead of dwelling on what was me, what did I do, start thinking about the next step. What can I do to help my child live the best life that they can? So this is Mommy of Two, Wife of One, signing off, and I will see you all next week.